Hi there crafters, it's Louise with you today to share a new scrapbook layout for Kitaholic Kits featuring the June kits, and I've gone a little bit mixed media with this layout. In this month's kit we got a fabulous stencil and of course the Distress Oxide spray. Now most of you will know I'm all about the boys scrapping, so when I saw that it was a blue spray in the mixed media kit I was very excited to actually have a crack and pop it open and get it onto a page. So here's what has come out of my little experiment with the Distress Oxides. One of the other things we got in this month's kit was the Heidi Swap washi tapes, and I wanted to make sort of this stripy background using the offcuts from the bottom of the 12 by 12 sheets of paper. Sometimes I will keep them and sometimes I won't keep them. It really does just depend on how I feel about them, whether I think I will actually use them on a layout like this where it's really stripy or whether they just go straight into the bin. It probably also depends a little bit on the pattern of the paper as well and the collection. So in this case I decided that they were going to go into a background, and as you can see what I'm doing is creating these sort of stripes, starting with almost 12 by 12 in the middle and then working my way either side down to a smaller sort of stripe. Now once I've got all these on the page, and there's no rhyme or reason, I'm not measuring. You saw in the start that I did get the first one off center, so I had to peel it up and start over, measuring it with my ruler, which is something I don't do very frequently, but in this case it really did need to be measured so that I could eyeball the rest of the layout and get it nice and straight. So once I'm finished adding those stripes to the background, I'm going to cover the whole thing in clear gesso because I'm going to add some mediums and there's washi tape especially in the background. I find that if I put medium straight over washi tape you'll get quite a bit of lifting, so you've already got to fight against the warping of the paper, but certainly we don't want any extra lifting. Now that I have let that gesso dry, I'm going to use just plain old paste, so no coloured paste this time around, through the stencil and just use the different areas of the words. And you can see there's no rhyme or reason. I'm not actually trying to use particular words. I'm just creating interest around the outside of this sort of diamond pattern that I've got going on. Now because this is the Distress Oxide, I've given it a good shake and I'm actually just going to use a pipette to actually pop some of that onto my little paint tray there, because I want to have sort of free access to it. I don't want to have to be digging into the bottle and risk tipping it over every time I want to add a little bit of colour. Now I started off painting this on dry, and then off to the side what you can't actually see is my little empty jar of water. So it's just a jam jar that I keep full of water, and it's just there to help me move some of this colour around. And again, nothing technical here, it's just about adding as much or as little colour as you actually like to see on the page. And for me, mixed media always looks much more finished, in bunny ears, finished, if I actually add some splatters. So I have also off camera picked the two photos that I'm going to use, and I'm going to just pop a tiny little bit of paper behind them. It doesn't need a lot of layers behind my photo because I've got a lot going on in my background. So that's how I sort of work out what I'm going to add. But just to help give it that sort of finished look around the photos, that's why I add one extra area of paper. Now that I've got such a fabulous background going on, I think probably the thing that I'm struggling with most is how to embellish this page. You don't want it to be too busy, and I don't want it to cover up any of the mixed media that I've got in the background, but I still need to be able to embellish it just lightly with the right pieces. So I thought these sort of wood frames were good, and this is Master C giving a big cuddle to his puppy Zara, and they are the best of friends, so I thought It's Good to Be Home was a really great sort of sentiment to actually embellish this page. Now, this is probably one of my favourite techniques. What I'm using is just plain old silver acrylic paint, and I'm just smearing it onto the texture paste parts of the background to help lift that texture paste away from that blue background. So by using that contrasting color, I mean, you could use white if you wanted to, but I like the little pop of sparkle that you get from using the silver. And you can sort of see that it just lifts those words out of the actual background so that they're not so lost in all that blue. Now around my photo, I decided just to add that little bit extra, and this is actually rug mesh from my local craft store. And the rug mesh is really great because I think it actually adds sort of this texture. It's kind of like plasterer's tape, but it's got sort of a thicker texture, which I think looks great in the background. So a couple little extra elements that you'll find in this month's kit, but overall this page didn't need a lot, so it's all finished. I hope you enjoyed that from me. Thank you so much for watching, and please feel free to leave a comment. Make sure that you check out Kitaholic Kits, and of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe.